You can't be serious about that, can you?
I'm very serious about it.
Give him credit for that, because there's a lot of...
The bravery for running away when he got tired.
No, the bravery...
Sorry.
No, go.
Sorry. From round one, running away, jumping up and down, falling down on the floor. Yeah.
He did not, but go ahead.
Or a clown show. For a freaking clown show. Jake Paul embarrassed himself, embarrassed the sport, and embarrassed everyone that calls himself a fighter.
Stephen A. Smith confronted Jake Paul following his knockout loss to Anthony Joshua during a live interview. Smith questioned why Jake chose to face such an elite fighter so early in his career, calling it a dangerous decision. Jake responded confidently, saying he still has everything, the best team money can buy and rigorous training. He added that this loss does not prevent him from continuing his boxing journey.
I need a few more fights. I'm not taking him on in my next bout, but a couple more years of experience with the team I got. I'm surrounded by the best team in the world possible that money can afford, so I'm getting exponentially better.
After Jake Paul's fight with Anthony Joshua, Logan Paul addressed the reaction from fans and critics, calling much of it haters who would criticize no matter what. He explained that competing at this level naturally invites scrutiny, and this fight was no different. Logan emphasized that while no one realistically expected Jake to beat a two-time Olympian, his brother's confidence and determination made the effort remarkable. Even after suffering a broken jaw, Jake stayed positive, joking and filming content in the hospital, demonstrating his resilience and love for the sport. Logan highlighted that this mindset, pushing through fear and adversity, is what drives Jake's continued success. Despite the loss, Logan views the fight as a net positive, showing Jake's toughness and willingness to face challenges that most would never attempt, earning respect through perseverance rather than victory.
Haters gonna hate. It's just the name of the game, you know. When you're operating at the high level that my brother and I are, the haters come with it. I mean, statistically speaking, part-timer, I think the narrative's dead. I've been showing up every single Monday for the past month and a half. I've wrestled in 4 out of the 5 times I was there. I won every single match. So like, everyone who's yapping can now shut their trap because the narrative's dead.
I mean, you brought the receipts. I think that the proof stands for itself. And you mentioned your brother. Jake went 6 rounds on Friday night with Anthony Joshua. I know how proud you are of him. You were in the hospital with him afterwards. You called him an absolute warrior and said on your Instagram that his broken jaw won't break his spirit. How did you think, and what did you think of how the fight went down?
So, from strictly a logical point of view, I actually think it went down exactly as it was supposed to. I'm not sure anyone really thought that Jake was going to beat Anthony Joshua, but you have to understand, being his brother and in his close circle, he has this conviction that makes you believe, and he has this ability to defy reality and morph it into his vision of how it'll transpire that makes you think he'll win. However, like this was my opinion, this was a logical conclusion to the fight. The 2-time Olympian broke the influencer boxer's jaw. Like, okay, you know, we could have wrote it in a story and it would have made sense. That said, I think he did amazing. I'm incredibly proud of him. I think it was a net positive. I think the world can see now how...
Eddie Hearn offered insight into Jake Paul's performance against Anthony Joshua, explaining that those who claimed Jake was merely running failed to see the full context. From the start, it was clear that Jake had little to no chance of winning against a fighter of Joshua's caliber. As a result, his main goal became survival. Hearn emphasizes that the real measure was how long Jake could last in the ring, and he exceeded expectations by lasting all 6 rounds. Many doubted he could endure even a few, yet he showed remarkable resilience, managing to withstand the power and skill of a top-tier heavyweight. While Jake may not have been competitive in the traditional sense, Hearn stresses that simply surviving against an elite opponent is a noteworthy achievement. Enduring 6 rounds under those conditions highlights Jake's toughness, mental strength, and ability to handle extreme pressure, making his effort impressive despite the loss.
Today, Jake had one job, and that was to try and survive. I mean, he was never ever going to win the fight, ever. And if you would have said to me, do I think he'll go 6 rounds? I would have said absolutely not. I mean, I felt that it would take AJ a couple of rounds to get hold of him, because I knew Jake can move a bit and he'd be moving off the back foot and he'd be holding. But it was the way that he did it, I think, was actually quite impressive. Like, not that particular part, but the way that he would, you know, the way that he was strong in the clinch. You know, he wouldn't let AJ get his shots off in the clinch. He made him miss a few times. And obviously AJ's been out of the ring for a while. But to be honest, I think the most fascinating thing of the whole night in terms of the fight was how he didn't get flatlined by that right hand. I mean, I said going into the fight, it's probably going to take AJ a few rounds to get hold of him. And I also said, as soon as he lands clean, the fight's over, right? He landed a few before, but the first that he landed really clean was the final shot. But, you know, he never flatlined Jake. I mean, he did break his jaw in 2 places, which is a disaster. But there are a lot of heavyweights that would have been out cold from that right hand. I mean, one of them was Francis Ngannou in a pretty similar shot, really. Do you know what I mean? So I actually give Jake unbelievable credit for doing it in the first place, but his performance as well. I mean, I stand by the fact that I think he's just a decent cruiserweight, but like, he did go in with Anthony Joshua, and look, the world is full of criticism and opinions and negativity. Who else is doing what he's doing at what is he, late 20s? I mean, quite phenomenal. I mean, the guy's a complete madman. I'm watching him come out to that ring walk, and he's just a...
Stephen A. Smith further stated that Jake Paul cannot use his YouTuber background as an excuse when facing a true elite fighter like Anthony Joshua. Smith argues that if Jake still identifies primarily as a YouTuber, he should not step into the ring with top-level boxers. According to him, participating in such high-stakes fights requires full commitment and an understanding of the professional demands, rather than relying on fame or a crossover reputation.
Takes the sport very seriously.
Thank you. So let me ask you, that's the question I have, because great kid, great businessman, by the way, amazing. And I know how he does all this, the character and the persona. We keep saying that he doesn't want to be a boxer. He's not a boxer, but then
Jake Paul is a boxer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my point.
Exactly. He's a boxer.
He can fight. I respect it. So go in there against fighters. You should be climbing the ladder towards those other fighters and taking the sport seriously to the point where you're...
Derek Chisora partially refuses to give Jake Paul genuine respect after his fight with Anthony Joshua, questioning the idea that simply stepping into the ring counts as bravery. He dismisses claims from others, like Chris Eubank Jr., who argued that Jake deserves credit for entering the ring and lasting 6 rounds. Chisora notes that Jake spent much of the fight running, avoiding real exchanges, falling, and only landing a few punches. According to him, bravery isn't just about showing up or enduring pain for money. True bravery involves risking one's life for a greater cause, such as fighting for one's country. While Jake did commit to the event, Chisora emphasizes that lasting 6 rounds against a professional like Joshua does not automatically earn respect for skill or courage. He also criticizes Jake for turning his loss into social media content instead of demonstrating genuine combat bravery.
It's not supposed to look competitive. He's not supposed to hit you. He's not supposed to go more than 3 rounds. But at the same time, you need to know how to control the pressure. I think AJ's demeanor in the build-up was someone who was like, you know what? Everyone's saying these things, but this is how I see it. Yeah, I rate him. He can box a bit. He did say in an interview with Steve Bunce that, like, when he was talking certain things, there's a part of me that wants to punch him in his face, but I'm just gonna chill. And I feel like that's how he handled the immense pressure.
The last time we saw AJ fuming like this, like when he actually tried to do something, was with Dylan. So we should not judge him when he says something like this, because when he don't say nothing, we say, oh, why is he not saying?
An analyst argues that Jake Paul should not be associated with respect in this situation, insisting the fight was always about money rather than true competition. Inside the ring, the analyst believes several weaknesses were exposed, particularly Jake's repeated grabbing and holding, which made him appear fearful rather than composed. He explains that this reaction was understandable because Anthony Joshua was not past his prime, but a dangerous and active heavyweight. The analyst emphasizes that Joshua has a record of backing up his words when he says he intends to hurt an opponent. As the fight went on and Joshua's punches landed closer, Jake became increasingly defensive and desperate to survive. According to the analyst, this was not bravery or respect, but self-preservation. He concludes by noting that with nearly $92 million at stake, many would take the risk, but that kind of payday does not automatically earn respect in boxing.
Looked like it reminded me of Troy. You guys remember Troy when Orlando Bloom's character grabbed his brother's leg, you know? You know what I mean? It looked like he was desperately scared, you know? But I think he should have been desperately scared because AJ was coming to hurt him. This wasn't a Mike Tyson fight. He wasn't 58 years old. This dude is 36. And Anthony Joshua, like he said, because I've heard AJ say stuff like that. Hey, I'm going to F you up. He said the same thing to Helenius, because he thought Helenius was looking at him crazy. And it's like, what do you, why are you looking at me like that? Right? And Helenius like, huh? And what happened to Helenius? He got knocked out, and needless to say, he tested positive for something. But yeah, so if you hear AJ say, hey, I'm going to F you up. Oh yeah. That's what he means. And I think Jake Paul knew it. And I mean, he avoided a lot of big shots at the beginning of that fight, But then as AJ started getting closer and those punches started getting, more in range of hitting him, the grabbing happened a lot, more.
Chris Manx and Sergio Mora place most of the blame on Jake Paul while analyzing Anthony Joshua's 6th-round knockout victory. They argue that Jake didn't just lose the fight, he also embarrassed himself and the sport by showing a lack of proper boxing fundamentals. Mora explains that real fighters are trained to handle fatigue, pain, and pressure, whereas Jake only knows how to throw punches, not how to fight under real danger. According to them, Joshua clearly held back, controlling the bout and choosing not to finish it early despite having the ability. They believe the fight should have ended much sooner, as Jake spent more time avoiding exchanges than actually boxing. Manx adds that when a skilled professional truly wants to hurt a non-fighter, the gap becomes obvious almost immediately. Both analysts describe the bout as disappointing for viewers and harmful to boxing's image, calling it worse than expected and impossible to defend from a sporting perspective.
We train to be tired. We train to be hurt. We train to roll with punches. We train for a lot of things that this YouTube Disney star has been nobody. Never learned the trait. He never learned how to fight. He learned how to throw some punches. He learned how to box. And I told you it's because Jake Paul had the resources. He can have a head start in this career like you did in life, and you can make it out. But the thing is, when a fighter really wants to hurt another non-fighter, he can do it, and he can do it a lot easier and a lot faster. Anthony Joshua played with his food, and I'm going to tell you right now, he played with his food. I don't think he should have went to the 6th round, maybe the 4th at latest, because Jake Paul was running. He wasn't boxing. He was running, and every time he had a chance to try to tackle Anthony Joshua in fear, he was on his knees. It looked like he was praying. Jake Paul spent more times on his knees than you did in college praying for a girlfriend. It was embarrassing, Chris Mannix. It was embarrassing. And all the people that tuned in to Netflix and everyone else, just like the Mike Tyson fiasco that happened a couple years ago, we feel disgusted for having to watch that.
I'm not going to defend the fight. It was a bad fight. It was actually worse.
You're not going to put him on. You're not going to put him on the cover of Sports Illustrated again?
No, because we put him on the cover of Sports Illustrated for very different reasons than boxing. It was a power issue, as you.
Ben Shalom strongly condemns the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight, calling it a freak show that crosses a dangerous line. He notes that while some crossover bouts can be harmless, this one is different due to the real risks involved. As a boxing promoter, Shalom emphasizes that he constantly witnesses how serious the medical side of boxing is and how quickly fights can turn dangerous if mishandled. He warns that such matches are treated as entertainment and quick money-making opportunities until someone is seriously injured. According to Shalom, this type of fight mocks boxing and damages the sport's reputation. He adds that many insiders remain silent because of the money involved, but fans, young viewers, and sponsors may start to think this represents true boxing. Shalom stresses that boxing is always one punch away from tragedy and argues there is no excuse for a mediocre fighter from another sport jumping weight classes to face a two-time world champion.
Entertainment and Anthony Joshua being introduced to America as a media star. What's your overall view of what it does or doesn't do for boxing? Jake Paul being licensed in a fight that many people think that he shouldn't have been licensed to fight, in a commission that often does that. As a promoter, do you think it's a bad look for boxing, or are you thinking it doesn't really matter, it's not really what boxing's about?
I usually and have said in the past that things can be things, you've got to take it for what they are. But in this occasion, I do think it is a freak show, if I'm honest. I also think it's dangerous. I'm sat here as a boxing promoter and I see what goes on with the medicals before and after fights and how dangerous the sport is. And I saw Callum Simpson the fight should have been stopped way before it was, but was in trouble on Saturday night. It's all a bit of fun and it's all a money grab until someone gets seriously hurt, seriously damaged, and then the whole sport comes into disrepute. For me, it makes a mockery of the sport of boxing. For me, it's no one in the industry wants to talk badly about it because everyone's lined, the pockets are getting lined. And when you look at that, and kids will look at that, and fans will look at that, and sponsors will look at that and think that that is boxing. As I say, we're one punch away from something serious, and yeah, it's
Ben, on the flip side of that argument, mate, you will tell me that you knew that Chris Eubank wasn't right to go into that fight.
No, but let's be completely honest, right? Whatever you want to say about that fight, these are two experienced professional fighters. Chris Eubank Jr. has been in fights previously.
Duke McKenzie criticizes the level of competition Jake Paul is facing, calling it very weak. He claims that fighters from his own gym, many of whom aren't top professionals, could perform just as well, or even better, in these crossover bouts. McKenzie ridicules the idea of winning a world title after a short fight against low-quality opposition, suggesting the championship holds little value. He adds that such matches are more about easy money than real challenge, noting his gym fighters wouldn't even be in danger. He also voices frustration with athletes from other sports stepping into boxing, emphasizing that boxing is a high-level discipline that shouldn't be treated lightly or watered down by novelty events.
They don't know a right hook from a meat hook. They don't know a jab, from a proper boxing jab to a jab in the arm with an injection. They haven't learnt the basic fundamentals. Nobody's taught them to keep their hands up and their chin down. Nobody's taught them how to jab properly. Like I say, these guys were just swinging shots on a wing and a prayer. And it was quite painful to watch. I don't know who coaches these guys. I don't know. Maybe they're MMA, maybe they're kickboxers, maybe they're professionals in their chosen field, but they're not being trained by boxing coaches. That's clear. What I would do, you'd have to strip them down and start from square one. And I mean, I've got a lot of guys in my gym, and a lot of these guys probably would do better if they entered this Misfits competition. I'd have guys from my gym calling themselves world champion, because at the end of the 6 rounds, Timur was crowned and still heavyweight world Misfits champion. Well, if that's the level of opposition, I might even head a few of my guys into that, see if they can't nick a few quid. They're not going to get hurt. It's, what surprises me about all of these crossover organisations that want to, you've got footballers that want to be boxers, you've got MMA that want to be boxers, you've got boxers that want to be boxers, you've got table tennis, you've got cricketers, you've got, name any sport you want, rugby,